In today's video, I cut out stealth parts from the sprue, remove the plastic on the wheel well. In addition, I separate flaps. And lastly, I spray camouflage and minor weathering. Hello fellow modelers, let's make the most stunning and unique aircraft. The stealth Nighthawk is distinguished mainly by her sharp angular shapes. I opted for Academy first, but then I purchased the Hasegawa, which is more accurate. The kit has only a few parts, simple camouflage in one shade and almost no details on the surface or in the interior. So, it must be the most straightforward aircraft kit so far. I want to make the model properly, so I will make only a few minor modifications. This new released version is missing the bomb bay, which is quite shame. The entire fuselage is crafted as a single piece, and while the cockpit is attractive, it feels a bit small. Additionally, there is a few details that could use some improvement. So, the first improvement is the cockpit. I purchased new iris replacement set, which has a lovely details and includes metal parts for seatbelts and instrument panel. There is really no need to explain how much better it is. The problem is that the kit is prepared for small kit cockpit, and the correct size does not fit. It's time for razor saw and milling cutter. I must remove almost all the excess plastic. Good to set a low RPM on your electric tool, because the heat from friction can damage the fuselage. And the resin part must be also modified for the perfect fitting. I use a strong super glue which nicely secures the resin part. I wasn't exactly precise and ended up taking off more plastic than necessary. Nevertheless, it wasn't a big deal. I filled the gap with a 2-component epoxy putty. The putty can be smoothed with the water, so no excess putty is left. The resin set is made by casting, thus I must carefully clean the details. It took some time and effort to install the cockpit into the model, but it looks much better. So what do you think? It's worth it? I came across new optical sensors on Cal3D. The kit includes them, so there is no need to swap them out. However, I decided to go ahead and replace them anyway. While I was working with the milling cutter, I took the opportunity to remove the front wheel well as it was leaking the details. Since the landing leg extends through the entire section, it made more sense to take everything off completely. The epoxy putty is dry, therefore I am cutting out a thin plastic strip which covers the seam line. The primer unifies the whole section and reveals imperfections. I use Tamiya grey putty, which is perfect for small corrections. I am covering wheel well with a styrene board. The fuselage is tall, but I was forced to thin down the cockpit for the correct fitting. Let's take a moment to paint the cockpit. The Nighthawk incorporates many components from older aircraft. For instance, it uses landing gear from A10 Thunderbolt and avionics along with the cockpit from F16. Additionally, it features parts from F18 and even Hercules. I am painting details with acrylic paints, because they dry quickly and you can make a lovely layering and shading. It means I am applying a dark shade first and then slowly making details lighter and brighter with the paints. A good and easy technique for brightening small details is the dry brush. I applied a small amount of the paint on the flat brush and then clean it with a paper napkin. The residual partially dry paint then makes this effect. The seed with the shading looks more interesting. Now comes the funny part. I need to paint the small buttons and switches. For this task, I grab my DaVinci Red Sable paintbrush, since it features a sharp tip and soft bristles, making it perfect for the job. And some artificial shading with an enamel wash. I am creating cover glass with a clear UV printing resin. You can also use clear varnish, but the drying time is faster. I use clear holographic foil for LCD displays, and I imitate infrared display using transparent green paint. Acrylic paint can be easily removed with isopropyl alcohol. While it is not strictly necessary, I prefer to work on the clean surface. The air intake mesh on Nighthawk is quite interesting. However, the kit mesh is overly simplified and too large. To address this, I designed a new replacement part using Blender and printed it out. The parts are available for my Patreons or on Cal3D. Hasegawa has chosen to make the kit even less interesting by completely omitting the Bombay. It's quite a disappointment. Lucky me, I found lovely detail set on Cal3D. It is designed for a larger scale kit, but it does not matter. I rescaled parts and redesigned some details for 72 scale print. I am removing a little bit of resin and plastic to make it fit perfectly. It is a splendid detail. I adjusted the thickness of the printing supports to just 0.6 mm, making them much easier to remove. The primer helps to seal the printing layers and reveal residual supports. The landing gear is also in the set. It includes details like hydraulic pipes and wires. The kit part is not the worst, but new one is better. A huge improvement are wheel well doors. The Bombay and wheel well are white, so it nicely breaks uniform black surface, at least from the bottom side. There are many wires which I must paint black, and nice detail is to paint recognition labels with a yellow, blue or red. I printed place cards on the laser printer, which is easier and more detailed than painting all by hand, and I used red labels from spare decals. I am making Nighthawk from Operation Desert Storm. First I wanted to make this unexpected guest aircraft, but I was not sure about the orientation of this decal, so I changed the aircraft to Sneak Attack. I also was forced to change the number on the front gear. The dark brown enamel wash makes deep shading and makes details more pronounced. I do not wipe it off, I only smooth the shading with a clean brush and enamel thinner. Revel Chrome is like a Mercury. I use it to imitate shock absorbers or hydraulic pistons. I was surprised how large this Bombay box is. I was a little bit skeptical about fitting, but the fuselage is tall and fits without problems. I cannot forget to add lead counterweight, otherwise the aircraft would fall on the tail. Now I can finally close the fuselage. Consider cutting out the flaps to add some excitement to the aircraft. A razor saw is a convenient and effective tool for this modification. The flaps are hollow after removing. Good filler and scalping material is 2-component epoxy putty. It's soft like modeling clay, but when it dries it's rock solid and holds on the plastic quite well. Then I must fill the wings and make a groove for flaps installation. Filling the wing seamline is quite challenging, especially from the underside. I use an electric grinder to remove excess glue and make the leading edge sharper. I am trying to hide the seamline completely with a soft sandpaper. The seamline is still not perfectly uniform, so the grey putty covers the scratches and imperfections. I would rather have a seamline along the leading edge instead of the wings. Alternatively, I would recommend design the wings and fuselage as a single piece, similar to what the academic kit offers. Handy is to remove grease and dust with isopropyl alcohol or soapy water before spraying. Finally, I can unify the model with a grey primer. I also want to bring up a minor issue regarding the V rudder. Its shape isn't quite right and the underside needs to be larger. Fortunately, there is a replacement part from Quick Boost that can solve this problem. The plane has almost any pan lines, but I describe one at least on the wings. The flaps are down on the ground, so it nicely breaks the uniform aircraft silhouette. You may also observe several rhombus shapes on the surface. Typically, these are exhaust from APU, ventilation systems, or heat exchangers. So it is good to improve these details with a soft metal mesh. You can buy this material on the eBay for a few dollars. And that is all for the surface details. Now the painting. I don't use pure black because the black is too dark. Therefore I opt for NATO black. Now I can use highly diluted black and make the shading and surface less uniform with the dark stains. And I use the black for deep shading from the bottom side. Now let's highlight the geometrical shapes of the surface. I don't worry how bright the transition would be, because I can simply unify it after unmasking. Now I can smooth pronounced grey highlights of a highly diluted black paint. The surface after shading looks much better and interesting. The cockpit canopy isn't perfectly pure, but with a little polishing you can get a result which is more acceptable. The glass has anti-radar gold coating. I tested metal powders, but the best result I achieved with a simple transparent yellow paint. Then you can notice that the front glass has anti-reflex surface, which creates a nice holographic reflections. I also tested some materials, but the best is to glue holographic foil on the clear varnish. The foil is for nails and costs only a few cents, and it creates a lovely effect. I don't have a spraying mask for a cockpit canopy, so I got my own. It is handy to place a strong background light that highlights edges, and also have a new and sharp blade. The paint is dry, so I can apply a soft coating of a clear varnish. The decals are another issue of this kit. The gold-grey color on the numbers and roundless is quite off. I found the decal sheet from old academic kit, but the dark grey is also wrong. So I opt for this decal set made by Caracal Models. You can simply compare the shade from the wreck of a Nighthawk from Yugoslavia. The printing quality is splendid. There are many versions and primarily the shade is correct. You can notice that the aircraft from Desert Storm has many sorties. I am smoothing decals with decals chemicals. However, the surface is flat and the decals are still raised above the surface. Handy is to spray 2 layers of a clear varnish over and then smooth the edges with a soft sandpaper. I have a soft orange peel texture on the surface, so I smooth the entire model. The orange peel is caused by a wrong color or clear varnish dilution. Now I am unifying the surface with a matte varnish. It is suitable base for shading, but also the real aircraft has very matte finish. The dust from spraying got under the mask. I am cleaning it with an enamel thinner. Now I can add details to Wilhelmsson, which I destroyed at the beginning. Good materials are styrene boards and lead wires. You basically do not need anything else, maybe a little bit of patience. I use positive rivets because the kit does not have any details there. I use another holographic foil for infrared sensors. Originally the sensor cover was soft mesh, but in this scale the cover glass is suitable alternative. It is shame that all the details are from the bottom side. The exterior of the actual aircraft isn't perfectly clean. Dust has accumulated around the edges and there are stains on the surface. I am not personally fond of this uniform black surface, therefore I must improve it slightly with a minor weathering. I am applying highly diluted enamel paint. I like imitating the dust effect with the enamel because it dries quickly and has a nice matte finish. I am carefully cleaning dust with a cotton swab and thinner. I am allowing the dust to gather around the edges, making the stains on the flat areas more noticeable. I recommend a synthetic brush because enamel thinner can easily destroy natural bristles. On the surface there are more stains from the exhaust or leaks from the engine. The oil paint is great for this effect because you can blend it nicely. The Nighthawk has a low fuel capacity, so it happens that it refuels 4 times in one sortie. Therefore, I am imitating fuel leaks and scratches around the air refueling adapter. The shading is still too soft, so I use a black oil paint to add more darker stains and scratches. The effect is strong when the paint is fresh, but when it dries it will be almost negligible. You can notice how many leaks and dirt are on the bottom side. So do not worry about making it dirty. First I apply enamel thinner, which helps to blend oil paint across the whole surface. The V rudders are on the ground turned towards each other. And many soft scratches of acrylic paint. I am still not precise with a paintbrush, so I smoke sketches with a toothpick. The scratches are caused by crew maintenance or refueling. The air intake mesh also has many scratches, because in the fuselage under the air intake was installed special ice scraper. I made the surface dirty, therefore I must also make the dirt on the flat exhaust. I use oil paint, which dries slowly, and I have a lot of time to correct or modify the stains. The stains are also on the rudder, and I use airbrush, which makes a nice soft smoke effect. The back section of the exhaust should be clean, because there is a cold air exhaust. It was for mixing and reducing hot exhaust fumes. Nighthawk used special modified ammunition, GBU-27 Paveway III. I didn't find any extra parts or cheap 3D models, so I opened Blender 3D editor and designed my own. The files are available on my Cal3D or my Patreon. The bomb is quite huge. In real it measures 4.2 meters. I found some old spare decals, so I placed them on. You can print laser cover glass, but easier is to apply a small amount of a clear printing resin and cure it with a UV light. The Nighthawk can carry 2 Paveway III bombs, but it is shame to cover a nice bomb bay, so I attach only one. And few more scratches and shading. It remains a few details, like head-up display. It was in the Iris cockpit detail set and I only improved it with a holographic foil. Handy is to paint the cockpit canopy also from the inside. The surface has stains from oil paint and thinner, so I prefer to unify everything with a matte varnish. With these details, I am done. I can say that this is likely the most altered kit I have worked on so far. I have used only 7 parts from the original kit and swapped out the rest. Still, it is undoubtedly the most accurate kit available, and you can create a beautiful one-of-kind model from it. I hope my efforts didn't discourage you too much. This black beast will truly stand out in any aircraft collection. Thank you for watching, and heartfelt thanks to my Patreons for their incredible support. See you next time!